What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, a man who's fought battles most of us can't even imagine? Something extraordinary happened that day, the kind of moment that changes everything you think you know about grace, patience, and strength. It was supposed to be just another feel-good interview. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really caused Michael J. Fox to completely lose it on live television. A beloved actor, an icon who'd faced battles most of us can't imagine, walked into a studio ready to share hope and inspiration. Instead, he walked straight into an ambush. Michael J. Fox, the man who turned tragedy into triumph, who inspired millions through his fight with Parkinson's, expected a warm conversation about research, courage, and progress. But what unfolded was something darker, a test of dignity, a clash between kindness and cruelty. The stage was perfectly prepared for a celebration. Soft lights, polished floors, cameras positioned to capture every warm smile, producers buzzing with excitement about having one of Hollywood's most respected figures in their studio. The air crackled with admiration. The audience whispered stories about the films and shows that defined their childhoods. Back to the Future, Family Ties. They spoke about how Michael's courage had given them hope during their own struggles. Even the production team, hardened professionals who'd seen it all, seemed to feel a rare excitement. They checked microphones twice, adjusted cameras again. No one wanted to risk a single thing going wrong. Each host of The View prepared with genuine respect. Whoopi Goldberg, calm and professional, made notes about Michael's foundation. She planned to highlight the achievements that had changed lives around the world. Sunny Hostin studied articles about breakthroughs in Parkinson's research, eager to ask thoughtful questions. Sarah Haynes gathered touching stories of families whose lives had been changed because of Michael's work. And then there was Joy Behar. Her energy felt different. She wasn't smiling like the others. Her movements were sharp, her focus cold. She sat silently through the pre-show meeting, her expression hard to read, though if you looked closely, you might have noticed something unsettling in her eyes. Joy wasn't planning to follow the script. While everyone else prepared for an uplifting segment, she had another plan. A plan that would shock everyone, including her co-hosts. She'd written her own questions hidden beneath the approved list, not questions meant to inspire, but to provoke. She wanted to make headlines, to create a moment. As the audience cheered and the show lights brightened, the energy in the room was electric. Michael J. Fox stepped onto the stage. The applause was thunderous, not the polite kind, but the kind that comes from deep admiration. People rose to their feet. Some had tears in their eyes. They weren't clapping for a celebrity. They were clapping for a hero. Michael smiled, that familiar, comforting smile that millions recognized. Though his steps were slow, his dignity never wavered. He had faced Parkinson's for more than 30 years, yet his presence radiated warmth and quiet strength. Whoopi greeted him first, stepping forward for a heartfelt hug. Sarah followed, her joy obvious. Sunny shook his hand with respect that felt genuine and deep. Then everyone looked toward Joy. She stayed seated. Her smile was thin, forced. She nodded once, a gesture that carried no warmth at all. Then she looked back down at her notes. The contrast was unmistakable. But Michael, ever gracious, didn't seem to notice. He thanked everyone, took his seat, and began the interview with his trademark optimism. Whoopi began softly. "Michael, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you." "Thank you," Michael said with a smile. "It's great to be here with all of you." The conversation flowed beautifully at first. Sunny asked about his foundation, and Michael spoke passionately about the breakthroughs in research, the real progress being made in the fight against Parkinson's. "The science has come so far," he said, eyes bright with hope. "We're closer than ever to real life-changing treatments. It's no longer just a dream. It's happening." The audience listened in silence, hanging on every word. Sarah leaned forward and said, "Your foundation has raised over $1 billion. That's incredible. How does that make you feel?" Michael laughed gently. "It's not about me. It's about the researchers, the donors, the families. I'm just lucky to be part of it." It was the perfect moment. Warm, inspiring, everything the producers wanted. Then the tone shifted. Joy Behar leaned forward, her voice sharp and cold. "Well, Michael," she began, her tone slicing through the air, "let's talk about something else." The room went still. Whoopi's head turned. Sunny blinked. Sarah's smile froze in place. Joy continued, "You've been very vocal about certain political issues. Some say you use your condition to push an agenda. What do you say to that?" A chill ran through the studio. The energy vanished, replaced by discomfort so thick you could feel it through the screen. Michael hesitated for a moment, his composure unshaken. "I focus on health advocacy," he said calmly. "Not politics." But Joy wasn't finished. "Come on, Michael," she said, almost mocking. "You've been in political ads. Some people think you use people's sympathy for your illness to influence opinions." Gasps rippled through the audience. Even Whoopi's expression hardened. She tried to jump in, but Joy waved her off. The atmosphere was no longer friendly. It was tense, electric, and dangerous. Michael's face stayed composed, but his voice carried new weight. "Joy," he said slowly, "I talk about healthcare because it affects millions, not because it benefits me." Joy leaned back, arms crossed. "But your platform gives you power. You've used that power to support certain candidates. That's fair to talk about, isn't it?" Whoopi tried again. "Joy, maybe let's stay on topic." But Joy raised her hand. "No, Whoopi, this is important." She looked directly at Michael. "You've received a lot of sympathy over the years. Some critics say you've used that sympathy for political gain." The studio froze. Even the audience stopped moving. Michael's jaw tightened. He didn't shout. He didn't lose control. But his silence said more than words ever could. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, but it carried steel. "You're misrepresenting what I do. My foundation exists to find a cure. If you see that as political, that says more about you than me." Under the harsh studio lights, the tension began to hum like electricity. Joy's stare stayed locked on Michael, sharp and deliberate, as if she were waiting for him to stumble. The other hosts were frozen in uneasy silence. Even the audience could sense the shift, that strange feeling when something meant to be inspiring suddenly turns uncomfortable. Joy leaned in again, her tone smug but disguised as curiosity. "But Michael," she pressed, "you can't deny your illness gives you a unique kind of influence. You speak, people listen, and that's power, isn't it?" The question hung in the air, heavy and cutting. Michael inhaled slowly, his fingers tightening on the armrest of his chair, yet his voice remained calm, the voice of a man who'd endured far worse than an ambush on live television. "Joy," he said with quiet authority, "influence means nothing if it doesn't help people. I use my voice for those who don't have one. That's not power, that's responsibility." But Joy wasn't satisfied. Her smile turned sharper, a hint of defiance flickering in her eyes. "Responsibility?" she repeated, a faint laugh in her throat. "Or opportunity? Because some people might say you've built a second career on your illness. Books, interviews, speaking tours, your foundation. Some would call that exploitation." The word hit the room like a slap. Gasps echoed from the audience. Whoopi's eyes widened, a clear warning flashing in her expression, but Joy ignored it. The sound engineers exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they were witnessing career suicide in real time. For a heartbeat, Michael didn't move. His smile vanished completely. The warmth that had filled his eyes moments before was gone, replaced by something colder, controlled, but unmissable. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but there was a force behind it that silenced the room. "Exploitation," he repeated, each syllable. "Deliberate. You should be very careful with that word, Joy." Whoopi tried to jump in, desperation creeping into her usually calm tone. "Let's just bring this back to the foundation." But Michael lifted a hand, stopping her gently. His focus never left Joy. "No, Whoopi. She started this conversation, so let's finish it." He turned back to Joy, his expression unreadable. "You want to talk about exploitation? My foundation funds research that's given hope to millions. It's built on transparency, accountability, and compassion. Every dollar we raise goes into finding a cure, not for me, but for everyone fighting this disease. If you think that's exploitation, then you don't understand what compassion looks like." Joy shifted in her chair, suddenly less confident than before, but pride wouldn't let her stop. I'm just saying what others are thinking, she said defensively, waving her hand like she could brush off the rising backlash. You've turned being sick into a brand, Michael. You've made a career out of it. Some might call that emotional manipulation. That was the breaking point. Michael's expression hardened. He leaned forward, his voice firm, steady, and absolutely commanding. You think I wanted this? You think anyone would choose to live with a disease that takes away control of their own body? His words were soft but searing. You talk about manipulation, but the only manipulation here is pretending cruelty is courage. You don't speak truth to power, Joy. You punch down on people who are already fighting battles you can't begin to understand. The silence that followed was deafening. The audience no longer just watched, they felt the weight of every word. You could hear the faint hum of the lights overhead. You could see the color drain from Joy's face. Her confidence, that smug composure she wore like armor, cracked. For the first time, she seemed unsure of what to say, but instead of apologizing, she forced a smile, brittle and empty. I'm just doing my job, she muttered, but even she didn't sound convinced. Michael exhaled slowly, the kind of sigh that comes from years of endurance, of holding himself together through pain most people couldn't imagine. When he spoke again, his voice carried calm fury, the kind that doesn't shout, but cuts straight through. Your job is to ask questions, he said, not to dehumanize people in the process. I came here to talk about science, progress, and hope. But instead, we're talking about your assumptions. And that's not journalism, Joy. That's theater. The tension in the studio grew unbearable. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she shuffled her notes, desperately searching for a way to change the subject. Sunny glanced at the producers off camera, her eyes begging for direction. Whoopi sat back, her arms crossed, the disappointment clear on her face. But Joy stayed silent, her jaw tight, her pride holding her in place. The audience didn't know whether to clap, speak, or breathe. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Finally, Joy tried again, voice cracking slightly as she said, Michael, I think you're overreacting. I didn't mean to upset you. But Michael interrupted, standing now, his posture tall, his voice strong enough to command the entire room. Don't say you didn't mean to. Every word you said was deliberate. You came here prepared to provoke me. And for what? Ratings? A viral clip? You wanted to create a moment? Congratulations, you've done it. The audience gasped again as the intensity in his words deepened. But let me tell you something, Joy. Sometimes the moment you create says more about you than it does about the person you're attacking. The weight of his words lingered in the air. Joy blinked rapidly, her mouth slightly open, but no sound came out. Whoopi's voice finally broke the silence, quiet but firm. Maybe we should cut to break. But the moment had already become bigger than the show itself. Michael wasn't finished. No, it's okay, he said, looking out at the audience, his voice soft but steady. Because this right here, is what's wrong with the world. People mistake cruelty for honesty, hostility for bravery, and exploitation for truth. But real courage isn't tearing someone down, it's building others up. The studio erupted into applause, hesitant at first, then louder, stronger, unstoppable. The audience stood, cheering through the shock of what they'd just witnessed. Cameras kept rolling as Joy sat frozen, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly. Michael's voice cut through the applause, calm and resolute. I've spent my life trying to give people hope. And today, I realize that even hope can be twisted by those who don't understand it. He adjusted his jacket, his gaze steady on Joy. I came here to talk about progress, but instead, we've exposed something else, the cost of compassion in a world addicted to conflict. The ovation grew louder, filling every corner of the studio. Michael gave a faint, sad smile, nodded respectfully toward Whoopi, and stepped away from his chair. I think we're done here, he said quietly. As he began to walk toward the exit, the crowd continued to applaud, some even shouting words of support. Whoopi stood up, her expression heavy with admiration and regret. Michael, she said, her voice trembling, you've always been welcome here, always. Michael turned back briefly, his eyes softening. I know, Whoopi. Thank you. Then he looked at Joy one last time, and for the first time, she couldn't meet his eyes. The realization of what she'd done, what she'd lost, was written all over her face. Michael nodded once, a gesture of quiet finality, and walked off stage, leaving behind stunned silence and a room full of people who knew they'd just witnessed something unforgettable. The moment Michael walked off set, the entire studio seemed to stop breathing. Cameras froze mid-pan, crew members exchanged panicked looks, and the audience sat stunned, their clapping fading into uneasy whispers. It was as if everyone had realized they had just witnessed the instant when admiration turned into outrage, not toward Michael, but toward the host who had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Joy Behar stayed seated, staring at the desk in front of her, her fingers trembling slightly as the magnitude of what she'd done began to sink in. The other hosts were silent. Whoopi glanced toward the producers behind the glass booth, her expression a mix of disbelief and anger. The director's voice crackled through the studio speakers, "Cut to commercial now," and the screen faded to black. But even during the break, the atmosphere didn't ease. In the control room, producers rushed around frantically. "Do we stop the segment? Do we apologize on air?" one of them asked. Another voice, shaking with disbelief, muttered, "That clip's already going viral. You can't stop what's coming." And they were right. Within minutes, audience members who had filmed snippets on their phones were already uploading them online. The footage, Michael's calm but devastating response, Joy's shocked silence, the standing ovation, spread like wildfire. By the time the show returned from commercial, social media was exploding. On Twitter, the hashtags began trending almost instantly. Michael J. Fox, The View Meltdown, Respect Michael J. Fox. Millions of users flooded timelines with outrage, praise, and disbelief. "He handled it with class," one comment read. "She attacked a man battling Parkinson's on live TV. How could she?" another wrote. The clip was shared across every platform within the hour, racking up millions of views before the network even finished airing the episode in other time zones. Back in the studio, Joy sat rigidly, avoiding eye contact with the others. The energy that had filled the room earlier, that joyful anticipation, was gone, replaced by thick, suffocating tension. When the cameras turned back on, Whoopi tried to salvage what was left of the broadcast. Her tone was firm but steady. "Before we continue," she began, "I just want to say that The View has always been about conversation, respectful conversation. We want to thank Michael J. Fox for joining us today and for the incredible work he continues to do for Parkinson's research." Her words were deliberate, her gaze fixed forward, but the message beneath them was unmistakable. Joy remained silent, staring at her notes, her face pale. She looked like someone realizing too late that she had set fire to her own career, live on national television. Sarah offered a few soft, meaningless words about the importance of hope, trying desperately to bring the tone back to normal. But it was useless. The damage had been done, and everyone knew it. When the show ended, the applause was forced, half-hearted. The moment the cameras cut, producers and assistants swarmed the host's table, their whispers quick and urgent. Backstage, the chaos continued. Michael's team was gone. They had left immediately after he walked off, but their silence spoke louder than any public statement could have. Joy tried to speak, her voice shaky. "I didn't mean for it to go that way." Whoopi, still visibly upset, turned to her with disbelief. "You didn't mean to? Joy, you ambushed him. That man's given everything to help others and you turned it into a circus." Joy tried to defend herself, saying, "I was just asking questions," but her words rang hollow. "That wasn't a question," Whoopi replied quietly. "That was cruelty." By the end of the day, every major entertainment outlet had picked up the story. Headlines flooded the internet. Michael J. Fox walks out on The View after heated exchange with Joy Behar. The day kindness fought back, Michael J. Fox's unforgettable response. Even late-night hosts and commentators began weighing in. "It's one thing to ask tough questions," one pundit said, "but it's another to publicly humiliate someone who's done nothing but fight for others." The clip was replayed endlessly, dissected from every angle, analyzed like a courtroom drama. Public opinion turned fast and merciless. Viewers who'd once tolerated Joy's blunt humor began flooding comment sections and forums with condemnation. "This was too far," one viewer wrote. "It wasn't journalism, it was bullying." Others called for an on-air apology. Some demanded her resignation. By nightfall, the show's official social media pages had disabled comments altogether. Inside the network's offices, meetings ran late into the evening. Executives debated how to handle the fallout. "Do we release a statement?" one asked. "Do we let Joy apologize tomorrow?" Another shook his head. "She might have to. The backlash isn't slowing down." Every PR expert agreed. The damage to her image was immediate and severe. The only question left was whether it could be repaired. Meanwhile, Michael J. Fox stayed silent. He didn't post online, didn't issue a statement, didn't engage in the chaos. And that silence spoke volumes. His restraint became part of the story itself. People admired his composure, his grace, even in the face of humiliation. "He didn't have to shout," one journalist wrote. "He let dignity do the talking." The world seemed united in respect for him, and united in disappointment toward Joy. The next morning, The View returned to air. The tension was palpable before the cameras even rolled. Joy's usual confidence was gone. Her voice trembled slightly as she read from a prepared statement. "Yesterday's conversation with Michael J. Fox didn't go as I intended," she began, eyes downcast. "I asked questions that were insensitive, and I regret how it came across. I have deep respect for Michael, for his work, and for everyone affected by Parkinson's disease." Her tone was subdued, but the apology felt rehearsed, hollow, and too late. Whoopi, sitting beside her, offered a brief nod but didn't add anything. The silence after Joy finished was louder than any applause could have been. The audience remained still, not hostile, just disappointed. The show continued, but the chemistry that once defined it was gone. Every exchange felt stiff, every smile forced. Outside the studio, the world wasn't ready to forgive. Opinion pieces poured in from journalists, fans, and even medical professionals, calling the interview a masterclass in what not to do. Clips of Michael's calm response were used in motivational videos, shared with captions like, "This is how you handle disrespect, with grace." Meanwhile, Joy became the face of insensitivity, her reputation tarnished overnight. The fallout wasn't just professional, it was personal. Late that evening, a reporter caught up with Michael outside a charity gala. When asked if he had any message for Joy, he smiled faintly, his tone calm and sincere. "Everyone makes mistakes," he said simply. "I just hope we all learn from them." Those 9 words became the headline everywhere. Proof, once again, that even after being pushed beyond his limits, Michael J. Fox remained what he'd always been, a symbol of grace under fire. Weeks passed, but the storm refused to calm. What had begun as a shocking television moment had transformed into a full-blown cultural reckoning. Talk shows, news segments, and online commentators couldn't stop replaying the clip. The moment Michael J. Fox's quiet strength met Joy Behar's misplaced aggression. Each rewatch only deepened the public's outrage. It wasn't just about one bad interview anymore. It had become a conversation about respect, empathy, and what happens when decency is mistaken for weakness. The internet had chosen its side, and the divide was absolute. Joy's name became synonymous with arrogance. Memes, think pieces, and reaction videos flooded every corner of social media. The once confident host, known for her fiery debates and biting humor, found herself at the center of a backlash that showed no mercy. Every past controversy was dragged back into the light, every snide remark replayed and dissected. Networks began to distance themselves quietly. Even colleagues who had once defended her chose silence, afraid to be pulled into the fallout. The image of her sitting frozen on live television, realizing too late that she had pushed too far, became a symbol of hubris in the age of instant accountability. Inside the walls of The View, the atmosphere had changed completely. Producers walked on eggshells, guests canceled, appearances. Sponsors called with questions that no one wanted to answer. Ratings dipped sharply and audience trust eroded. For the first time in years, Joy avoided the spotlight. Gone were the sharp one-liners and confident banter. In their place was caution, hesitation, a shadow of the bold persona that had once defined her. Every camera angle, every word she spoke, now carried the weight of scrutiny. Meanwhile, Michael J. Fox's silence continued to resonate louder than any public statement could have. He didn't appear on talk shows to discuss the incident. He didn't release a statement or post a response. Instead, he let his work speak for him. Within weeks, his foundation announced a major breakthrough in Parkinson's research, a new study that offered unprecedented hope for future treatments. The timing was poetic. News outlets framed the discovery as proof that grace and perseverance outlast outrage. Donations to his foundation surged dramatically, breaking records. It was as if the world wanted to show its gratitude, not just for the science, but for his strength of character. Reporters who covered the scandal soon shifted their tone. Articles that once described the confrontation began to focus on the lesson. One columnist wrote, "Michael J. Fox reminded us that kindness is not weakness, it's power under control." Another noted that his calm, firm response had redefined the art of handling confrontation with dignity. In an era addicted to chaos, his refusal to engage in bitterness had become revolutionary. As for Joy, the consequences deepened with time. Her public apology had done little to mend her image. She faced suspension from The View for several weeks, an action the network described as a mutual decision to allow reflection. When she eventually returned, the reception was cold. The studio audience, once lively and supportive, clapped politely but without enthusiasm. Social media comments were merciless, calling her return unearned and premature. The woman who had built a career on strong opinions now found herself muzzled by the weight of her own actions. Behind the scenes, Joy reportedly tried to reach out to Michael personally. Insiders claimed she sent a handwritten letter, not a public apology, but a private one, expressing deep regret for how she'd handled the interview. Whether Michael ever responded, no one knew. He never mentioned it publicly, and those close to him said he preferred to move forward, not backward. It wasn't about revenge for him, it was about preserving peace. Months later, during an interview with another network, a journalist carefully brought up the infamous moment. Michael smiled slightly, that familiar warmth returning to his eyes. "Everyone has bad days," he said simply. "I've had mine. The important thing is to turn them into something better." The interviewer asked whether he'd forgiven her. His answer was quiet, but powerful. Forgiveness isn't about her. It's about not carrying the weight. The audience applauded, not out of pity, but out of profound respect. By the end of the year, the incident had taken its final shape in public memory. Joy's reputation had never fully recovered. She continued to host occasionally, but the spark that once made her infamous had dulled. Every joke she made was weighed, every comment dissected. The world had moved on, but her name remained linked to that single moment of cruelty, the day she misjudged a man who had spent decades teaching the world about courage. Michael J. Fox, on the other hand, emerged stronger than ever. His foundation broke donation records, his advocacy gained renewed momentum, and people across the world once again looked to him as a model of integrity. What had begun as an ambush ended as a triumph, not through anger, but through unshakable grace. The clip of him standing up, speaking truth, and walking away continued to circulate, often accompanied by captions like, "Dignity doesn't need to shout." In the end, the story wasn't about scandal. It was about transformation. It was about how a man, even when cornered and disrespected, chose dignity over rage, truth over spectacle. It was a reminder that real strength doesn't come from dominance or clever words. It comes from self-control, from knowing when to walk away. And as the dust finally settled, one undeniable truth remained. Michael J. Fox hadn't just walked off a talk show that day. He had walked into history, not as a victim of cruelty, but as the embodiment of grace under fire, proving once again that when the world tries to tear down kindness, true character always rises higher.